Assignment 4 for Strategic Operations, Section 2. How are these vignettes similar to or different from processes and practices you experience in schools? Well, they're similar because you think of new technology and new textbooks have been a part of the schools in the past where technology was the answer, and there's this huge drive for technology. Uh, there's no doubt technology does have a place in learning, but it can't replace effective teaching methods by the teacher. It can't. It can be used. Technology, of course, can be used as a supplement, but it does not effectively replace instruction. There's different or new evaluation tools to ensure greater accountability, and you think of the example of the elementary school that spent elementary principal that spent time in 200 classrooms and giving evaluation to 200 teachers throughout the year and sends notes. The final evaluation is when the principal put the evaluation in the teacher's mailbox, and the reaction was chaos, emails, and he was frustrated. I thought they didn't understand what I mean, or I didn't put it this way. And that's a very ineffective way, I believe, to communicate. I've always had face-to-face evaluations with administration. The administrator explains what I need to work on. We go with evaluation together. And so clarity takes place during that evaluation. Encouragement takes place as well with instruction. And the last vignette, similar, was collaborating on student achievement and instructional strategies. And this is where teachers were, 6th and 7th grade teachers were collaborating together. They were analyzing rubrics. There was confusion by some teachers, and they clarified that. Team members continue to collaborate and kind of hash it out and smooth things out. They share strategies. They refine these strategies. And the end result was, at the end of the year, there was proficiency, 95% proficiency, and that was the result of teachers coming together. So I can see that at the school that I'm at now. We've got a great group of middle school teachers. They come together, they work together, they define and refine strategies for their own student success. And maybe you've heard the analogy that no man is an island. You should not be a teacher that isn't on an island by yourself, being solo or being lone ranger teacher, so to speak. You should be working, collaborating with other teachers, which is helping you refine your teaching skills, and is also helping them and ultimately helping the students. So number 2, it talks about Frontier and Rickenbaugh. They assert that teaching and medicine are both professional endeavors where strategies used by practitioners can result in marked differences in outcomes. Do I agree with assertion or do I disagree? And explain the reason. Well, I agree. Each doctor in the scenarios gave a different remedy. And finally, the little girl was diagnosed properly instead of being diagnosed randomly. The final doctor that came in, asked medical history. He looked at the regular checkup. There was clarifying questions. There were symptoms that were there, and he gave a proper remedy. And as a result of that, there was success. We have students in schools and classrooms with a wide variety of gifts and abilities. The key is, do we understand the history of these students, or the gaps or things that they have missed? What are the strategies we're going to put in place to get them there? Effective teachers make a difference with that. We need to have the right teachers that they're asking the right questions, diagnosing, getting the right results. That's definitely important. Number 3, how do the findings in John Hattie's How Students Learn and Visible Learning support an emphasis on improved instructional strategies as a central priority for any initiative designed to improve student learning? Well, support and emphasis on improved instructional strategies as a central priority, that must take place. You got to support an emphasis on improved instructional strategies. There is the metacognitive, or some people might say the subjective approach, where you empathize with students, where teachers actually view the classroom through the student's eyes, and they see it through the student's eyes. To leverage instructional strategies, teacher must research strategies not only just research strategies, but they must be willing to adapt these strategies for the student's needs. Teachers need to use these strategies the right way in the context, not in a way to meet a certain or particular checklist to check the boxes, but really truly look out for the students. And this doesn't take a place, of course, overnight. It takes time. There's effective evaluation that needs to take place for student improvement. Number 4, describe an initiative that results in the leverage error of transactional implication of instructional practices. What efforts might have been better supported transformational utilization of more effective instructional practices? When you think of this, and there's this dialogue back and forth between these teachers that Madeline Hunter and her colleague Doug Russell, they wrote this book, this chapter, Planning for Effective Instruction in Lesson Design. And they wanted to take all of these teachers, feedback from these teachers, they observed these teachers and came up with this list of effective feedback. And it was the rage, and the teachers caught on, and it was the thing at the time, but it was actually being used in the wrong way. It was being used as a checklist. So Madeline Hunter wrote an article, What is Wrong with Madeline Hunter? She wanted to clear things up, and she gave 8 problems of how her work was being implemented the wrong way. And more teachers were frustrated. Patricia Wolf, she enters into the picture and the scene, and she clears things up on Hunter's part. And she writes what the 7 steps lesson plan isn't. Only to point out what the 7 steps weren't supposed to be. They weren't supposed to be used rigidly. They were only supposed to be considered when making lesson plans. Just considered. Marzano comes in with classroom management that works, and he saw the same thing. Teachers using their work in a rigid system they looked at it as a checklist, and that was not the case. It was supposed to be used as a guide. The whole process was supposed to be used just as a guide. And through the years, effort should be through the years deliberate practice and able to master all strategies associated with effectiveness, and it can take an entire person's entire career. It's pointed out by Frontier and Tony in the 5 levers of improved learning in 1792 and also 1793. Number 5, what are the characteristics of systems that develop expertise? Well, some of the characteristics of systems that develop expertise are, of course, pedagogy. That's one. Administrators giving open feedback, honest and open feedback is another. An environment that is committed to helping educators grow professionally, professional development. It takes years and years of experience. Constantly, teachers in their classroom, constantly on a daily basis, they constantly make thousands and thousands of decisions. However, over time, teachers will continue to improve their skill. If they have effective feedback and a growing professional, they'll improve. Number 6, what are the implications for how these systems might inform efforts when grading students, evaluating teachers? Well, the implications for how these systems might inform efforts when grading students, it's twofold with students. They clarifying what is familiar and how students learn. They have to clarify what is familiar to them and some of the skills of how they learn, and use a meta analytics process to identify specific strategies related to improving student achievement. And with that, there's 3 things that you need to go with that, or should be understood with that, is that students come to the classroom with these preconceived notions or these preconceived ideas. They develop this competence in the area of inquiry, of what they inquire or they ask about over time, what they're interested in, of course. And there's this metacognitive approach to instruction that can help students take control of their own learning, monitor, and achieving. And this is with Frontier and Tony, this is on 1516 and 1517 for the Kindle, of course. For teachers to use of instructional strategies, these instructional strategies for teachers should be a guide that for teachers' efforts to more effectively, how can they effectively meet students' needs? How can they meet their student learning needs? Effective teachers know how to use these principles, integrate them, and support learning.